We are officially at that point of the year where individual games tell us absolutely nothing. So far in the NFC, the Saints have dominated Green Bay, the Panthers have dominated the Saints, the Giants have dominated the Panthers, the Rams have dominated the Giants and Buccaneers, the Cardinals have dominated the Rams, and I mean, let's be honest, pretty much every team this year, with the exception of the Vikings and the Jaguars. Basically, what we're trying to tell you is that we have absolutely no idea who is good right now. On the flip side, in the AFC, we have the Tennessee Titans, who lost to the Jets, beating the Bills and then absolutely train wrecking the Chiefs. The Ravens, who struggled against the Lions and the Colts, blew out the Chargers and then got blown out by Cincinnati. So now we're in the situation of A beats B, B beats C, and C beats A. So what do we actually know? Absolutely nothing. We're at
NFL
that
Pythagorean theorem.
we're at that point where now we have to start judging teams by the eye test and trying to figure out what actually matters and what is kind of a distraction. This week, to make matters worse, we had 7 blowouts. 7 games that were not even close. So this week, we're going to be talking about blowouts and showouts. First things first, we're going to go over 3 of the games fairly quickly. We're going to talk about them much more in depth later on in the podcast, but we want to get to the bottom of whether or not these blowouts are reality and what we should expect from now on, or whether or not they are outliers. First up, Chiefs and Titans. Is this blowout of the Chiefs reality or an outlier? Zach, what do you
I
think?
think it's a reality, sadly enough. I don't expect the Chiefs to get much better. I had them in my top 10 2 weeks ago. I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's a reality at this point.
Do you
Yeah,
agree,
remember when
Sergi?
everyone was supposed to figure out, Kyler Murray, and they're supposed to figure out Lamar Jackson. I think they're figuring out Patrick Mahomes, and yeah, I think it's a reality. I mean, we're seeing the Chiefs getting beaten the same way week after week after week. Someone's got a blueprint, and they're sending it around the NFL.
Yeah, and the turnover differential right now is terrifying for a Chiefs team that again everyone thought was going to be a Super Bowl favorite. I think I'm on that boat of reality as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that one as well. Ravens and the Bengals. Reality or outlier? Sergi, you seem a little bit upset right now. What do you think?
I want to pretend it was a bad dream. Joe Burrow is the boogeyman of my nightmares, but it's reality. I mean, we saw 2 things which we knew. We've been taunting about how the Ravens are. Oh gosh, we have 16 players on IR, and we were 5-1. The things that were exploited were where all of our injuries are. We saw us not able to run the ball, offensive line not able to block, secondary not able to cover. It's reality, and I can just see teams continuing to exploit that down the line.
Hmm. What do you think, Zach?
I'm honestly under the impression it's an outlier. I think the Ravens are, y'all's team is one of the grittiest teams in the NFL. And yes, I understand that there's a ton of injury issues. Lamar was pressured like nobody's business this past week, which y'all will
Hmm.
talk about later. But with that said, I think that John Harbaugh is a good enough coach and in the past has been a good enough coach to make adjustments as needed, whether that's going to be benching some guys on the offensive line or really lighting a fire
Hmm.
underneath of them in order to make sure that they actually show up and do their job day in and day out. So I am saying it's an outlier.
I tend to lean on the side of outlier as well. The Ravens still are 5-2. We are going into a bye week, which means we have ample time to get it figured out. The trade deadline is coming up. I would hope that the Ravens are going to be start making some moves to try to shore up the defense and possibly the offensive line. I think in the second matchup in Cincinnati, I think the Ravens are going to be much more prepared than they were this time. Not saying Ravens are going to win next time, but it will be a much closer game. I still think this is a playoff team. I think this was an outlier. Up next, oh God, now I'm getting upset. Panthers and Giants. Reality or outlier?
I'll take front man on this one. I definitely say it's a reality. Um I'm not trying to sit here and say I told you so, but I told you so. Dude, I'm sorry for the Panthers. I actually like the franchise a lot, but I mean Sam Darnold is the guy that we thought he was. And it's not just about Adam Gase. I actually saw a tweet today that was just like, stop the Adam Gase slander. How could he have expected to win with a quarterback like that? Which I think is hilarious and maybe a little bit true. So I do think that it's a reality for the Panthers. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, like you said. But what about you, Rob? I want to hear your opinions on it.
At this point, I believe it is now reality. The Panthers are a team that should not be 3-4, but I believe that as long as Sam Darnold is under center, they are not going to be a playoff team. He looked at the start of the year like he had maybe turned the page on a lot of his old bad habits. I have seen full-blown Jets-like regression at this point. I think that the Panthers, unless they make the trade for Deshaun Watson, are done for the season. Unfortunately, I think that has now become reality. Agree or disagree, Sergi?
Well, actually, I'm gonna say it's no. It's reality. I mean, they have the Panthers effectively have one offensive lineman who is any kind of starting caliber in the NFL right now. They can't get anything going on offense, and as great as any defense is, if your offense is putting up 3 and out after 3 and out against the Giants, there is no way that you can hold up on that field. So there's a lot of great pieces here right now, but with Sam Darnold behind that offensive line, it's reality. It's going to keep happening unless for some reason Christian McCaffrey, after he comes back in week 9, has some magic juju that's going to fix everything.
Bro, Christian McCaffrey's he's a great running back, but he's not going to be able to block 5 defensive linemen or linebackers or any combination.
Just you wait, okay?
All right. Well, we have plenty of time to cry over the Panthers in the NFL therapy session. Little sneak preview there. But Sergi, tell us about another team that should be crying. Blowout number 4 of the week. This one was a doozy. Tell us about Jets-Patriots.
Jets-Patriots. I mean, 54-13. I think that says a lot. I mean, the Patriots owned the Jets during the Tom Brady era, and with the Mac Jones era, the McCorkle Jones era, nothing's really changed. I mean, they dominated the game the whole way. Zach Wilson wasn't doing anything, and then Zach Wilson unfortunately suffered a knee injury. I believe it's a PCL sprain. He's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
Mike White came in. He put him on the board with a Corey Davis touchdown. So thank you, fantasy gods. I appreciated that one. But it was dominance by Patriots on all fronts. I mean, Mac Jones passed the ball well. He was efficient. Their trick plays were working, and they just ran the heck out of the football. They dominated the Jets up front. I think their offensive line let up like 3 total pressures the entire game. It was clean. It was just good football on the Patriots side, and the Jets are falling apart. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of just you might want to correct me if I'm wrong here, but all the Jets cornerback starters are like second-year players who are like 5th-round picks and later right now. It is that defense is down to nothing. So
it's bad. Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah. It was just a super efficient, hyper efficient game by New England. They got outcoached, they got outplayed. And I will say, out of all the rookie quarterbacks right now, Mac Jones, he looks the best. He looks undisputedly the best right now. And
I might dispute that.
There's this great comparison. If you find it on Twitter of Mac Jones and Tom Brady making the same pass during the game, it's a sideline thrown up the left side. They look like the same player sometimes in this offense. New England's really found that TB12 replacement, and New England still owns the Jets, and nothing is changing anytime soon in the AFC East over here.
Yeah, stylistically, Mac Jones looks very similar to Tom Brady, and I don't think that was an accident when he was drafted. Up next, let's talk about one team that none of us really care about, and then one team that's kind of interesting: Eagles and Raiders. Now, this game was 22-33, but I'm going to go ahead and say right now the Eagles put up 15 points to the Raiders, 3 points in the fourth quarter. Don't let this 11-point game trick you. This was a blowout, but I've heard you guys actually like this game a lot. You're big Jalen Hurts fantasy football fans, eh?
Yes.
Jalen Hurts garbage time. It is beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. I look forward to it for about 2 quarters every Sunday. It's phenomenal. But I mean, Zach, we talked about this a little bit earlier. the Eagles it's a combination of bad play calling and just bad reads by the quarterback. That offense can't get going.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. So I'm actually still a fan of Jalen Hurts. I have a good buddy who listens to this podcast weekly named Brandon. He's a big Eagles fan. He is super anti Jalen Hurts. And I have defended Jalen Hurts through and through, but this week I finally agree with him. Hurts is underthrowing everyone. He's underthrowing or throwing behind everyone. I mean, he kind of looks like a more effective, how can I say, Taylor Heineke. He looks like a better Taylor Heineke, which pains my core to even compare the two because I hate Taylor Heineke more than I hate myself, which is a lot. So all jokes aside, though, all jokes aside, guys, Jalen Hurts has not looked good, and the offense is bad. The coaching is bad. Everything in that team right now is pretty subpar, and being down 30-7 going into the fourth quarter just kind of goes to show that Nick Sirianni has no idea what he's doing and should not have gotten that job over Eric Bieniemy or Brian Dable or any of the other qualified coaches that interviewed.
It's just frustrating to watch because I don't think Jalen Hurts has the most amazing NFL arm. You know, he can make most of the throws, but they're not tailoring the offense to the player that they have in there at all. Exactly. He's a mobile quarterback, and they don't have designed runs. I mean, they mobile quarterbacks benefit your running backs so often, and I think Jalen Hurts has the most carries on that team right now.
He does.
They're not running the football despite a great offensive line. They're not scheming up easy throws for him across the middle or within 10, 15 yards where he's surprisingly very accurate. They're just like, airmail this, 30 yards down the sideline, and hopefully we'll have a completion here.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to watch.
It doesn't help that Miles Sanders got hurt, like 6 carries into the game. He had a pretty nasty looking ankle injury, and I think he's going to be out for a little bit. So we'll see if the rest of that running back room can pick it up and, handle that 6 carry a game responsibility. So
on the flip side, the Raiders, they look like, and we talked about this a little bit last week, Rob, are they a top 10 team? I think they're starting to approach that. They are a complete team right now. They have a pass rush. Their secondary has been playing phenomenally. Nate Hobbs, 5th round pick this year, has been one of the highest graded guys by PFF, slot corner. Casey Hayward's playing great. They're getting pressure. They're not letting they're not letting teams put them too many points. And Derek Carr is playing. I mean, he's playing at a very similar level towards that. I think it was his 3rd year in the NFL where everyone was calling him an MVP candidate. They have all the pieces, and I think people aren't taking him seriously because it's the Las Vegas Raiders. But Las Vegas Raiders are here, and they're making a statement every week.
Derek Carr, I think, is criminally underrated. I don't know why people have such a problem with him. I know that every year he has that one game where he gets a negative passer rating and has 75 turnovers. But other than that one bad game he has every single year, he's winning games. They're 5-2 right now. Raiders are a team to keep an eye on. Eagles, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't have fired your Super Bowl winning coach. Maybe your Super Bowl winning coach shouldn't have intentionally lost a game in a primetime game. A lot of babies in the Eagles franchise, but I don't want to talk about the Eagles anymore. I just don't care about them. So we're just going to move on. Up next is Bears and Buccaneers. There is just something magical about the NFC and 3-38. That magical score just keeps popping up. It's like some weird good luck charm where for whatever reason it's always the Buccaneers and the Saints. They always have 1 or 2 games every single year that ends 3-38. But in this one, the Buccaneers get revenge. Turns out Justin Fields, not good against the blitz. Who knew? Who could have possibly seen this coming? The Buccaneers, after having a very rough start defensively, pretty much have just mauled the last 2 teams that they played against. Now, granted, the 2 offenses they played against are, oh God, I said I wasn't going to talk about them again, the Eagles and the Bears. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the degree of difficulty was high or that either of those 2 offenses could be described as even remotely functional. But still, mauling teams like that is always impressive. I mean, the Bears are bad. And I don't mean bad. I mean bad.
Bad, dude.
To put into context of how bad things are for the Bears right now, the only bright spot on their team was Khalil Herbert. And he's not even going to be your starting running back in a couple weeks because David Montgomery's going to come back. So it's congratulations. All you have is 2 talented running backs, and you have nothing to show for it. And also, you lost 38-3 despite having your running back break 100 yards rushing. It's It's just not good.
It's
It's just
gross,
not
man.
good.
Yeah, just a note on that. I mean, there was a fire Nagy chant at the Bucks game. This is an away game, and the
Shocked
fans
it
are
took this long.
No, I mean, also, I mean, just the fact that they kept Justin Fields in throughout this entire game when they should have yanked him. I mean, you are not like, oh yeah, he's going to get experience. He's going to get NFL snaps.
Oh,
No,
he got experience, all right.
Yeah. He's got the Sam Darnold experience, which is really what you really want for your top end picks. I mean, they traded up for this guy. They have, I think they traded away 2 first-round picks for this guy. This is their franchise, and they are letting him go out there and get brutalized by Buccaneers defense. I mean, put in Nick Foles, put in Andy Dalton. Take care of your rookie quarterback, because at this point, I'm scared for Justin Fields, because I think that he's a very talented player, but they're not using him right. They're not playing to his strengths. They're not tailoring an offense around him, and they're just letting him get murdered out there. It's Matt Nagy needs to go, because I really get worried for Justin Fields if Matt Nagy stays this whole season. I think he could ruin his whole career.
Yeah.
I was reading a statistic before I had hopped on this with you guys about how Justin Fields is on a historic pace for getting sacked in a per game basis. So Justin Fields has dropped back for passes, I believe, or attempts 130 times, and he has already been sacked, or maybe it was like 170 times, and he's already been sacked something along the lines of like 20 or 30 times. And what's insane is that he has a 14.4% sack rate. That means 14% of the time, in case y'all aren't good at math like me, and I need it broken down sometimes, he drops back every 14 times he's getting sacked. And that's not saying every 14 times he's getting hit per 100. It means he's getting sacked. So he's also getting hit. And I remember commenting earlier a few weeks ago with you, Rob, that Justin Fields doesn't seem to have a lot of pocket presence.
Yeah.
And that is super evident. And it's scary when the team has no offensive line. So I'd hate to say it, but I'm worried about Justin Fields' future, not because of Justin Fields necessarily, but mostly because of the team he plays for.
If this keeps up, Justin Fields in a couple of years will be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, so I hope the best for him. Speaking of complete failures of franchises, the Houston Texans, of course, had to face up against the current probable best team in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals. Oh boy. What do you got to say about that, Zach?
So as you said, I think we all saw this coming. I mean, this is 100%. We all saw that this was going to be something that happens. The Cardinals were going to blow out the Texans in some way, shape, or form.
Didn't this game have an 18-point over-under? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I thought it was 16 and a half. I might be wrong.
This was a college game.
Yeah, it really was. But no, man, I'm not going to lie. I'm actually pretty disappointed in the Cardinals after this. Yeah, you can say, oh, well, I mean, they won 31-5, but it took them a whole quarter to get their offense going. Now, I know football has 4 quarters, so it only took 25% of the time. But next week, the Cardinals play the Packers on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And if they get behind the Packers in the first quarter and the Packers actually show up and do what they used to do and not what they did against WFT this week, that could be a real problem for the Packers, because for some reason that could be a real problem for the Cardinals, because for some reason the Cardinals just can't put people away until like the third or fourth quarter. I don't know what it is. I don't know why Kyler Murray got sacked 4 times in the first quarter.
That
blew my mind. And then
taking so many hits.
The ghost of JJ Watt.
It was bad.
Seriously, he was getting annihilated, and that is problematic. That is something that scares me a little bit about the Cardinals. So 6-0, super impressive team. I'm happy for them. You know, the Cardinals are on my short list of teams that I'm going to be jumping to. We'll talk about that later. But I am just so concerned with the fact that they can't seem to put bad teams away until later.
And that is super concerning too, with the Kyler Murray getting hit in the hero ball, because if you remember last year, Cardinals were also on a tear in the first half of the season, and Kyler Murray kept taking these hits, got a shoulder injury, and the Cardinals finished what, 8-8? They
didn't really recover from it.
Yeah, it is. You know, they put away a bad team, but it is really concerning to see Kyler Murray just getting thrashed behind that offensive line. I mean, you can't do that when your quarterback is 5'10" and weighs 200 pounds soaking wet. You know, he's not gonna hold up.
Yeah. Now, we may have had 7 blowouts, but believe it or not, there actually were a couple of good games this weekend. They probably just weren't offered on your cable television, but they were there. Trust us, and if you don't believe us, let us tell you about them. Sergi, tell us about the Lions and Rams game.
The Lions so if we went into this week and I told you, hey guys, the best game this week is going to be Detroit versus Los Angeles, you would have had a lot of questions for me. But I really think this was the best game this week. It was the Jared Goff homecoming game. I mean, there's so much, a great storyline leading up to this game with the quarterback trades. Rams sending Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks to the Rams for it's the Lions for Matthew Stafford. But this game kicked off great. It was DeAndre Swift 70-yard screen pass to the house, which is fantastic. And then all of a sudden the Lions come out and they onside kick. And then they come in, I think they kicked the field goal. And the next time they were up to punt, the Lions freaking had a fake punt. It was crazy. Dan Campbell came out with I don't know if you guys seen this guy's coffee order before on social media. He's got like a triple red eye and like 2 different and 2 awesome. Ventis. This man chugged every ounce of caffeine, did some smelling salts. It was like, I am playing Madden today. We do not care about what NFL standards say. And it was an entertaining game throughout. I mean, I don't think anyone had any doubt that the Rams were going to win. And, as the game went on, the Rams, slowly asserted control, and Matt Stafford did Matt Stafford things, hitting Cooper Kupp, for multiple touchdowns every single week. And I would say this game could have come out very, very differently. There was, I believe on one of the Lions' final drives, there was almost another touchdown opportunity for DeAndre Swift. He was leaking out the backfield, and he stutter stepped and then because he was trying to avoid a linebacker, and then kept on this flat route. And Jared Goff thought he was going to sit there and just underthrew him. It would have been another touchdown. But the Lions, it really almost knocked off the Rams, which is crazy. Jared Goff threw 2 picks. I'm not going to blame him for either of those. One was a pass that went off his receiver's hands. One was Zach's making a face. Okay, how are you going to throw a great ball with Jalen Ramsey in coverage when Aaron Donald is barreling down in your face? Okay. But
you just don't throw the ball. You just take the sack and not turn over the football.
That's a fair point. I didn't think about that one. No, this was the best. It was the best game of the week. It had
Goff
a lot of
didn't
excitement.
think about that either, actually.
No, he didn't.
Man, and he's making a lot more money than I am. No, it was a great game. I mean, I really feel for Dan Campbell and the Lions. They might be the only team in NFL history, I think, at the end of this year to finish 2 seasons without a single win. But they're doing everything that Dan Campbell said they would do, which is they go down fighting. They're going to bite at your ankles. They're going to bite at your knees. It was an entertaining game to watch. I don't think there's much that needs to be really said for the Rams. I mean, the Rams were the Rams. The Rams came in and did exactly what everyone expected them to do. I'm a Dan Campbell fan. I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to coach in the NFL. I like his attitude. I like what he does with his team. I hope he can bring the Lions to the promised land, because that, it would be a great showing if he did.
They may not be a good team, but man, they're fun to watch.
Yeah. Unless you're a Lions fan, in which case you're probably real sad about it.
In which case it's heartbreak every single week.
We also had the Colts and 49ers, a very good primetime game, which I am dubbing the Torrential Downpour Bowl. For those of you that saw the guy in the full swim gear in the audience, that's how bad it was. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love it how every single season we get that one game that's just like torrential downpour, awful. Why are we even playing this game right now? Weather. Usually Bill Belichick summons it to defeat a better team, but this time that is not what happened. The San Francisco Bay itself came up and just rained down. And I don't know about you guys, but if there's a game that's going to be bad weather and slippery conditions, there are no 2 quarterbacks who I would rather face each other than Jimmy Garoppolo and Carson Wentz. When I saw these weather conditions, all I could think to myself was, this is going to be a fun one. This is going to be a really fun game, because it's like a slip and slide out there, and these 2 guys are notorious fumblers and people that just turn over the ball. And wow, did they deliver. There were so many plays in this game where I just sat there dumbfounded. Like, these are professionals making millions of dollars. I think my favorite was Jimmy Garoppolo's game-sealing interception, where the ball just literally slips right out of his hand and just twirls in a weird spiral fashion into the air, right into it. Four, by the way, not one. Four Colts defenders without a wide receiver anywhere in the area.
It wasn't Carson Wentz just like running up to the 49ers linebacker and be like, here you go. I don't even want this. You can have this,
Wentz had a bad one as well. Wentz had a weird like shovel pass, but there was literally no Colt in the area. It was only a 49er. So this game was as magical as I thought it would be. Running backs had a day. Elijah Mitchell and Jonathan Taylor both popped off. Incredible efforts from them, which makes sense. I mean, rainy conditions, you probably shouldn't be throwing it. If you have Jimmy Garoppolo and Carson Wentz, you definitely should not be throwing it. But alas, sometimes you decide to throw the ball and you lose the game. So that's that. But man, that was a fun one. Jimmy G fumbled it once from the rain. He had another fumble, which was a delayed false start call. So there should have been like 4 turnovers from Jimmy G that game instead of 3. But wow, that was a slip and slide. I absolutely loved it. Zach, tell us about the Falcons and Dolphins, i.e. the Battle of the Bads.
One question before we move on to Falcons Dolphins, though. 49ers 2-4. I don't think they have a shot at the playoff game in this division. I don't think they can really beat a lot of the top 2 teams in their division. Is it Trey Lance season?
After what I just saw, yeah, it's absolutely Trey Lance season because it's not Jimmy Garoppolo season, that's for sure.
I was reading before the podcast, of course. Kyle Shanahan came out and said, we're probably going to start Jimmy Garoppolo, which 100% means get ready for Trey Lance after 1 quarter. Because that man is a liar.
Oh my gosh. Kyle Shanahan needs to just like eat a wet sock.
I'm done with him.
Every time
he did last night, actually.
Every time he talks, it makes me angry.
Too? I hope you guys get that reference.
All right, moving on. Battle of the Bads.
All right, so Falcons, Dolphins, 2 really bad teams. Friend of the podcast, Sahan Yazdinyar, and I were kind of watching the game a little bit together. We had seen each other on Saturday, and so we chilled for a little bit afterwards. And when we were watching this game, we were sad. We both really love Tua. We want Tua to succeed. Tua Tagovailoa is one of the best quarterback people, at least to my knowledge, in the NFL, and it's really awful to see that he sucks. But he didn't suck, and that's the thing, is he didn't really suck that bad. I mean, yeah, he threw 2 picks, he had some pretty boneheaded plays, but he completed like 80% of his passes, had 4 touchdowns. He had one of his best games as a Dolphin in his career, and I think I've officially gotten to the point where I'm blaming the Dolphins' woes on Brian Flores. Because Brian Flores last year tricked me into thinking that he was this defensive mastermind, this awesome coach. It was the WFT effect, man. It's the same thing Jack Del Rio did. He tried to teach us all, or to trick us all into believing that Washington football was great, just like Brian Flores has done with people with Miami. Obviously, Dolphins didn't win. It was kind of a game-ending, field goal for the Falcons, and that was really sad to see, but also kind of exciting to see, because it kept people interested. But the Falcons didn't even look good. That's the thing here. Kyle Pitts looked great.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts looked awesome. The dude is a generational talent at tight end. Some of my favorite Twitter accounts that I've followed got me privy to him like way last year, before the college season was starting for tight ends, and the college season in general in 2020. Kyle Pitts was fantastic, and he is looking finally like the guy that he's going to be. I mean, he kind of looks like Calvin Johnson, kind of looks like Andre Johnson, kind of looks like Randy Moss. I mean, he's got combinations of everything in his game, and the dude is unstoppable. If they can get a defense, which they haven't had for about a decade, if they can move on from Matt Ryan, which they cannot financially till 2023, and if they can develop an offensive line, which they haven't been able to do for a decade, Kyle Pitts' career won't fail. but I have a feeling Kyle Pitts will never get a ring as long as he's on this Falcons
That was a
team.
lot of ifs,
Yeah.
Zach.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, guys. There's too many contingencies to him being successful for forever.
If they do this, which they've never done and probably won't do, and if they do this, which they've never done and probably won't do, but I mean, yeah, Kyle Pitts.
You forgot one.
Wow.
I said a third one.
There were like 5 in there, Zach. There were like 5 must ifs that aren't going to happen.
I never thought I would see an offensive, like, receiving talent like Calvin Johnson in the league again. I mean, DK Metcalf comes pretty close in terms of size and speed, but I mean, Kyle Pitts is even bigger, and I think he's a better athlete than Calvin Johnson. It was insane the things he was doing with Xavier Howard draped all over him. He's catching footballs like one-handed. Yeah. I mean, this is he's everything. Yeah. Everything is as advertised right now, and I mean, good on the Falcons for sucking enough to land a generational talent at tight end, but I hope his career doesn't get ruined over in Atlanta.